Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today I'm going to be talking about the topic of adulting and some expectations that I had before I became an adult and some of the realities that I've come to face or come to realize as I've been an adult. So if you're interested, keep on watching. So like I said in the intro, I am going to be talking about adulting and some of the expectations that I had before I became an adult and some of the harsh truths, the reality of what things are really like when you become an adult. So the first expectation that I had was that you would have the freedom to do anything when you're an adult. You would be able to just get up and go. And this is true for some people, but that's not the reality for a lot of people. And that's definitely not the reality for me. I have to pay bills. I have a child. I used to have a job before, everything that's going on in the world, but I can't just get up and go. And that's just not how I saw it as a teenager. I was like, yeah, I'm going to, be, just living the life basically and just moving to my own beat. But definitely that is one of the harsh truths that you do realize, especially if you're not in a situation or you wasn't raised in a situation where you have the luxury of kind of doing whatever you want or just having the resources to do whatever you would like and have freedom. So definitely it's a big difference from what I expected and now what I'm dealing with. So the second expectation that I had before becoming an adult, I thought that I would be doing good financially, living comfortable, being able to purchase anything that I would want, being able to live on my own and being able to live in a very nice apartment or house. But the reality of that is that it is very hard. It is very hard. I guess when you're just young, you're just very naive. You don't really know the full picture. You only see it a certain way. So you think, okay, that's the way it's going to go. I'm just going to be an adult. And because you see all the adults around you. Like, I didn't grow up around adults that were rich, but everyone was making a living for themselves. They had a job, lived in their own place, and was able to, put food on the table and buy things that they would like. So I always thought, that would just be my life. And I always kind of thought my life would be a little bit better than what I seen some of the adults go through. But the reality of that is that it is very hard. Being an adult is so hard. Living comfortably and being good financially is a challenge sometimes, especially if you don't have a good job. You have to pay bills. You have to take care. If you have children, you have to take care of your children, your child. You're not able to splurge on things that you would want or places you would want to go just because you would be in debt or your bills wouldn't be paid. So definitely that is something that I have realized now being an adult, is that it's harder than what the adults around me made it seem. Like, I knew that bills had to be paid, and I've always heard talks of like how expensive things are, but I just never realized like how hard it really is to like maintain paying bills, taking care of your other responsibilities and trying to live a comfortable life and get things that you may want and being able to, work 40 hours a week and go into the mall and pick up something for yourself. So definitely that it's different from what I expected. It really is different from what I expected. The third expectation that I had was that I would be in a committed relationship as an adult. I would be married, especially I thought by 25, I would be like in a committed relationship, probably engaged and probably having another baby, possibly. But the reality is, and what I have come to realize, is that being in a committed relationship is hard. It is really, really hard. Finding the right person, finding, your soulmate, the person that you're supposed to be with for the rest of your life, that is a really hard thing to do. And I as a child, I just, when you're a child, you don't see everything. You don't know everything. Like, you're very naive. You think you know everything, but you don't. So back then I thought, I'm going to be married and I'm going to, be with my husband, live with my husband, and we're just probably going to just live the rest of our lives together. But now it's just like, dating and everything that comes with dating. Like, is the person being faithful? Are they mentally well? Because that's a serious thing nowadays. Like, is the person that you're being with mentally well? Do they have a job? And are they working towards something? Do they have goals? Do they have motivation? That's also something important. And it's just so hard sometimes to find one person with all of those things. Is just like, it's the hardest thing to do. So I've definitely realized that it's not a true reality. Like, you don't, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you're automatically going to be in a committed relationship. It's a lot more components that go into that. It sucks, but it is what it is. So yes, so that's the third expectation that I had before becoming an adult. So the fourth expectation that I have, and it's actually the last one, but this one is like a huge one. So this expectation was that I would just be happy and have everything figured out. Now, oh my goodness. With this, I've learned that being happy and figuring everything out is definitely a journey. It is the hardest journey. It could be the hardest journey. I mean, like, you don't, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you just automatically are happy and you automatically have everything figured out. And of course, as a child, you think that, or as a teenager, you think that because maybe a mother or father, parent figure, family member, they seem to have it, pretty much figured out. They have their own issues, because of course everyone does, but for the most part, they seem like they're content with life. And I've learned that just doesn't come just because you're an adult. That's something that you have to work towards, and you have to constantly work towards. And I feel like that has been my strongest battle that I have dealt with ever since I became an adult. You have to do so much to just maintain your happiness, do so much to maintain your peace. You have to deal with old issues, traumas that you dealt with, traumas that you have from childhood, people who have done you wrong as a child. You have to deal with that. Like, well, for me, I have to deal with that to, grow and become the best adult that I can be. It's very hard. You have to forgive those people, or you have to at least try. And that, if you are watching and you have dealt with any trauma from your childhood where an adult, especially an adult, has done something to you, that forgiveness is, unless you're a very forgiving person, but forgiveness is not something that's easy. It really isn't, especially as a child. You think, man, like, how could you do this? Or like, to me, and I'm so young, or how could you let somebody do that to me? You were supposed to protect me as an adult. So forgiving people who have hurt you is definitely a process and a journey. Something also that you have to deal with to be happy and have everything, figured out, is you have to deal with insecurities that you may have had in childhood or teenage years. You ultimately have to deal with that as an adult, and that as well is not easy. I know for me, I've had a lot of insecurities. I still have a lot of insecurities, and I see how it affects me even as an adult, and I try to work through it just so that I can maintain and be happy. Because when you have insecurities and you have traumas from childhood that you're trying to deal with, it messes with your happiness. It really does. Even if you're happy, it's like the happiness is temporary, and you have those other things popping up. Even if they pop up once in a while, like, it takes away from your happiness. So definitely those two things of dealing with traumas and dealing with insecurities are two things that I have realized that, you have to deal with in order to get to that happiness and be, happy for the long term. With this expectation that I had of being happy and having everything figured out as an adult, I've also learned that in order to get that, yes, you have to deal with trauma. Yes, you have to deal with insecurities, but you also have to cut people off around you. And that might sound terrible, but that's what I learned. Like, you literally, if there's toxic people around you, whether there's toxic friends, toxic family members, and toxic family members are the worst because they're around you and you feel most vulnerable around them. But you gotta cut them off. You gotta let them go. You have to create boundaries and you have to separate yourself from them, because sometimes that's the only way that you're gonna have happiness. It's so sad that you have to do that, but you know, sometimes even family, they will not learn. They will never learn, and they will remain toxic, abusive, and just not good for your mental health. So definitely, that's another thing that I realized, that if I ultimately want to be happy, you gotta look who's around you. Look who's causing you negativity. Look who doesn't have your best interests at heart. Because once you get rid of those people, I promise you, once you create boundaries and you say, all right, I need space from these people, you're gonna have happiness, because that's another negative thing that's away from you. So that's another thing that I have realized that you have to do. Sometimes you just have to cut off toxic people. Another thing that I have realized about being happy and having everything figured out is that you have to go through literally finding what your purpose is, finding why you was put on this earth. Sometimes that leads to other things, that leads you to find a religion, that leads you to become more spiritual. So that's another thing that I have learned. Like, in order for you to get to happiness, there's so much components. You have to find your purpose, or you attempt to find your purpose. Also, you have to unlearn bad habits, create new habits. And that is a whole nother thing. Getting rid of old habits that you've literally been doing your whole life, been taught possibly, and creating new habits where you have to get in new routines and unlearn and relearn. Basically, that's what it is. So there's many different aspects to just being happy, finding happiness permanently, and having everything figured out. And those are just some of the stuff that I have learned. I've been an adult for about, I'm not even going to count 18 or 19. So I've been an adult about 5 years now. So, you know, it's definitely been a real journey. It's not easy. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. And it could be very discouraging. Sometimes I feel like, just like, why? Like, why is it so hard? Like, why can't I be happy? Why can't I be successful, like, quickly? Like, why is it such a journey to get to where I need to go? But that's just how life is, and I have realized that now. And you know, it sucks, but you know, I can't change anything about that. You know, life is about just going through things, learning things, growing, and becoming the best person that you can be. Hopefully one day, you know, for all of us, that although it's not what we expected it to be, although it's not roses, butterflies, rainbows every day, one day we'll be able to at least be content with our lives, be stable financially, stable mentally, be in these committed relationships, find the person that we're meant to be with, and get out all the bad people out of our lives, and, you know, accept all the good people that will add to our lives, and we will add to theirs. So thank you guys for watching this video. Those were some of the expectations that I had before becoming an adult, and some of the realizations I have come to find out. So thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for some more videos.